Hey y'all. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my page. I totally appreciate it. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this a little bit. So I just wanted to jump on here real quick. I feel like there's not enough support, as well as a lot of people don't talk about what it's like having a adult child with autism or adult child that is nonverbal, and the things that you deal with that. Um, Being a mom or a parent when you have a child that is a normal child that doesn't have any sort of medical issues like autism or nonverbal or ADHD or anything like that. It's like you're a parent until they're 18, and then they kind of like figure it out and go on their own and make new things. Now, when you have a child that is nonverbal and autistic, it's different. They still require a lot of help, a lot of assistance, things like that. Um, and you just have to be there, support them. They still have all the same emotions and different things like that as a child that doesn't have autism or isn't nonverbal. They still go through those same milestones as every other child, certain milestones when they're 6 months, certain milestones when they're a year, certain milestones when they're 2, 3, you know what I mean? Like each year there's different milestones that they're supposed to meet, whether is their body growing and developing, their brain growing, developing, things that they're doing. They still have those milestones, even though their brain may not operate in the same manner as, a child that doesn't have something like that. Um, so you still go through, well, I'm a young adult. I want to do it. I want to do my own thing, but they really don't understand what their thing is that they want to do, or they really don't understand. Like, for instance, right now, a big thing for me with my daughter, who is a portion of nonverbal and she is autistic. My daughter actually was not born this way. She did not have these things from birth. She was a preemie at 33 weeks. She did have like a lot of medical issues when I had her, but it was more like medical. Her development was fine. She started walking at 7 months old, like literally 7 months. My daughter was walking. She wasn't big as 5 seconds, but she was walking. Like she had younger sisters and she wanted to run like they were running. So she was walking with them. So she wasn't like, as a baby, it wasn't like she was different, or, you know what I mean? She wasn't born this way. The way that she is now came from traumatic brain injury. Her brain literally being shaken around in her skull, and the stuff that protects was ripped out. She doesn't have that, so that changed her brain. It changed the way she thinks. It changed the way she responds. It changed. She was only 6 years old when this happened, so it changed how she was able to communicate and understand what was being told to her, like the information that was given, how she understands it. So for my daughter with her nonverbalness, so you can talk to her, but she doesn't always understand what you're saying. So she'll say, okay, yeah, but she really doesn't understand what you're saying to her. She doesn't understand at all what you're saying. So typically, what I like to do, because we have been dealing with this, like I said, since she was 6 years old, I pay attention to my baby, and I can tell when she's confused. She'll get like a look in her eyes when she's confused. And I can tell that she's just completely confused. Also, I like to ask a lot of questions. That way, if she doesn't, because she doesn't verbalize it. Like, she doesn't say she's confused. She doesn't verbalize. She doesn't ask questions. Her brain just does not operate in that manner because of the damage that happens to it. She just doesn't know that it's okay to ask more questions or say that she doesn't understand. She doesn't understand that from how her brain operates. She just doesn't. So I have learned, one, through my daughter went through therapy for children that been through something traumatic. So when she was 6 years old, after she was viciously attacked and her skull was ripped off by the dog, I got her into therapy right away. I've been a believer in therapy forever. I believe in going to therapy, praying, reading my word. I believe in all of that. But that's what helps keep me okay through all of the craziness that we actually do deal with. So we got into therapy fairly quickly to address what had happened to her, so that we could talk about it, so we can deal with it, so that I could learn as her parent how to help her through it, how to help her when she goes into these PTSD crises, which she does just from hearing a dog bark. She goes into crisis. She said her PTSD snaps and her eyes get glossy, and it's just like she doesn't hear anything. She just, it's not there. So, I had to be taught how to safely take care of her and myself and everyone around her, as well as how to understand when she communicates what she's saying. So it took a long time, but if you're a parent that loves your kid, you do whatever you can to make sure they're okay, to make sure that you can learn how to take care of them. Like, I'm going to medical assistant school, but I never went to nursing school. But I can tell you, I firmly know every single thing there is to know about being a nurse because I've had to because of my child. And that's the thing that people don't understand. When you have a super sick kid or a kid that's on medications that have to go through a PIC line or a tube or something like that, they teach you to do it. You as the parent, they teach you to do it. You're the person, you're the contact person. Yes, you may get services if your child is a little sicker, but 9 times out of 10, you're the nurse. You're the nurse, you're the doctor, you're the wet nurse. You wish them up. Like you're everything, okay? You're everything. And sometimes it is hard depending upon the type of sickness that your kid has. It is definitely complicated to be able to add, working and other things in it, especially if you're a parent that's on your own. For me, her dad was alive until she was about 8. I want to say, I think she was 8 when he got killed. So she had both of us to help her, and we did. We did the best that we could to get our daughter as much help as we could, to ask questions, to learn about her, to learn what her triggers are. Like my daughter doesn't do good with loud noises or crowded spaces. It messes with her sensory. It's too much. Like a lot of crowd of people, she starts to panic and she'll cry sometimes. But for me, I just remove her from the situation. Like I don't care where we are. If we're at an amusement park, like for instance, if we decide we want to go out of town and we're going to amusement park and we get in an amusement park and the park is crazy packed or there's people wall to wall everywhere. Now, my daughter does have to sometimes utilize a wheelchair. She has conditions where she cannot walk or stand for a long period of time without it causing severe pain or discomfort. She does not like her wheelchair. She does not like to have to use the motorized scooter as well. She hates utilizing those things, and she does the best that she can not to. That's why if you guys watch our YouTube, we'll watch our TikTok. We have lots of videos walking our service animals down at the park to give her exercise as well as give me exercise. It gives her some time to let her mind think and kind of figure out the things that she wants to do and stuff like that. So it's just really good for her. That's how we get our exercise, and I take her walking, as well as we're working on water aerobics because of the condition she has. She can't do like regular exercise because of her skin. It's something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and there's something else, Ehlers-Danlos and something else. It just causes her a lot of problems, basically. So we figure it out. I like to make these videos because there are more parents out there that are just like me, that this is a struggle, that this is hard. No, we didn't sign up for this when we gave birth to our children, but I don't regret anything. I don't. The only thing that I wish is that my baby wasn't so sick, that she didn't have autism, because, I want her to have the best life that she can without as many struggles. One of the things that we do deal with is our world is a messed up place, unfortunately. And if you are not normal or a normal person, a normal individual, if you have any sort of disability or any sort of issue, unfortunately, you are treated differently in every single way. Jobs, every way. My baby has tried to get jobs, but because people could tell that she's different, they don't hire her. You're not allowed to be able to do that, but it happens. It happens, and that's devastating because, when they start to hit an age, when they have nonverbalism and they are also part of autistic, they, like I was saying before, they still go through those milestones. So they still hit that age where I don't understand why I don't have friends, or why people don't want to be around me, or I don't understand why I can't just get a regular job. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. Well, for my daughter, it's going to take a special person to be able to come into her life and become her friend or her best friend, because she is different. Unfortunately, we don't teach our children that it's okay that when we meet someone who's maybe not like us, maybe don't talk like us, maybe don't look like us, maybe don't respond like us, it's okay to still be friends with them. It's okay to build relationships with them. And there are some awesome people who do just that. But for the most part, it's our world looks down upon children who are not 100%. And even as young adults, because just because they turn a certain age doesn't mean that they respond or act the age that they turn, because they have disabilities where they don't really understand. Their brain doesn't really operate. Her brain's not going to say, oh, well, I'm nonverbal and I have autism, but I'm 20, so I'm ready to be 20. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. Not at all. It's different. One of the things that I used to worry about is, if something happens to me, will she have the same amount of care that I give her and the same amount of love that I give her? And honestly, it taught me that I had to stop fixing everything for her and babying her every single way. I had to teach her how to be sufficient on her own for if I wasn't here, because one of the things that I learned, I've had sepsis 4 times, and I ended up in the hospital for quite a few weeks. And she was here with her oldest sister, and there was so much stuff that she didn't get a chance to get done for herself, or didn't get done or didn't do, because I wasn't home. So because I wasn't home or here to say, hey, baby, you got to go do this, because her brain doesn't operate to just automatically remember it. Her brain was traumatized so bad that it doesn't think or operate in a regular manner. Her thought process is different. It's very, very different. And she gets confused really, really easy. So I'm her comfort. I'm her security. I'm her comfort. I'm where she finds her peace at, because she knows that no matter what, mom is going to make sure I'm okay. Mom understands me. If nobody else understands, mom has taken the time to understand me. And that can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse, because like I said, while I was gone, there was stuff that she was lacking that she needed. And my oldest daughter is amazing. She really does the best that she can, but nobody is like your mama. Nobody's like your mama. Like, even me as an adult, nobody's like your mama. Nobody's going to love you like your mom. Nobody's going to take care of you like your mom. Nobody's going to take the time to notice that you're upset even when you're not crying. You can see it on their face, and just sit down and give them a moment, whether it's just sitting there and being in that moment with them, or allowing them to just rant, even though it don't sound like they're not saying much or nothing, just letting them get that out and talking to them even if you don't understand. That has been, one of my things to help bond with her and help communicate and help figure it out. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people live busy lives and they have things to do, so they don't have the time that I have to give to her exactly what she needs, or what I think she needs, or what she tells me she needs. So it ends up being a twofold thing, where it could be a blessing and a curse. It could be a curse because when I'm not here, she doesn't feel comfortable enough to open up her mouth and say, hey, this is what I need. So she lacks when she doesn't have what she needs. She'll call me on the phone while I'm in the hospital, and now I'm trying to hurry up and get out of the hospital to get home to my baby, because, she needs her mommy. So I'm learning it's very, 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 very important to teach her how to survive when I'm not here, to teach her how to survive when she's eventually ready to go out and survive on her own, because that is something that she does want. She wants to be able to see if she can live on her own. I mean, I want a compound, and I'll just build her a little house on a compound, and then she has her own place, and I can get to her and see her, and she has help. That's my goal. One day the Lord's going to make it happen. Y'all going to be with me when it does. But that's my goal for her, so that she can have still what it feels like to be on her own, but still be safe. You know what I mean? But still be safe, because unfortunately we live in a world that is ugly, and there are evil people that will take advantage, or at least try. And I ain't letting that happen. As long as Jesus gives me breath in my body, ain't nobody gonna be taking advantage of my child. Period. But I just feel like being different is beautiful, even though we don't make it as beautiful. We make it as something negative for whatever reason, which I don't know where that came from, or what the history of that thing is on, if you're not normal, you're not beautiful, or if you're not normal, you're different, and differences are a bad thing. I don't really know where that came from or why that is, but I feel like if we can all figure out how to be kinder people to one another, period. Not even just kinder people to people with disabilities, but kinder, period. I think that that would really help. That could help. As there are a lot of adults that deal with ADHD or some form of autism and some form of depression, where, some of those adults don't have families that stay with them and stay there to help or stay there to guide them through or anything like that. Some of the families just, leave them kind of like that. You know, I actually want to do something about that because I hate that. But I think if we come together as a whole and unite, and become like a big family, that we can support these young adults like that, and that they could still enjoy what it's like to go on a vacation on their own, but have everything they need and know how to pack everything they need and know how to keep themselves safe, or have someone with them to show them how to, keep themselves safe, or even have jobs that are created. There are buildings that are created just for these type of children or young adults, where everybody that they see when they turn their head is just like them, but everybody is yet working. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like there needs to be more out here for them, as well as more support for our parents. Having a child with any sort of disability is hard, whether it be autism, whether it be nonverbalism, whether it be, sickness. Any sort of disability is hard, whether you're a single parent or a parent of two. Like, if you look at the divorce rate, it's high with parents with disabled children, because you end up like fighting each other, because it is hard. Like, you have to be able to make serious decisions and know that your decision was the right decision, because it can impact your child, and because they're not all the way there to be able to make the decision for their self. It's hard. Like, it's hard. It's a hard place to be in with anyone. It's a hard place to be in. Just knowing that you're doing what's right for them and giving them the best. And then if you have other children that are normal or don't have those certain disabilities, it's hard because it's different, because you've got to figure out how to make sure that no one feels unloved, no one feels left out, that you're giving your time adequately to each one of your children. And let me tell you something, if you have multiple children, that is hard in itself without adding anything to it. It's hard. Now then you go and you add disability, it's even worse. Like, it's hard. Like, even if I brought my children together and we did a round table talk, they would tell you one of their biggest issues or biggest beefs with me as them growing up was that I had to be with their sister constantly in the hospital after their father passed. I didn't believe in leaving my kids at the hospital by themselves. I took turns utilizing my village, and that's what it was. Either I was there or my mom was there. That was my village. We took turns. When my daughters got old enough to come to the hospital and be with their sister, my daughters would come and stay as well. They would be with her if I had to go to work, or, I deal with medical issues myself, super sickly, deal with nursing that comes in the house to take care of me. But I don't let that slow me down. Even though I have a nurse that comes in and takes care of me, even though I have a ton of medical issues myself, I do not let that slow me down as far as taking care of my daughter. Um, some days it is a push, it is a fight, because there's days that it's hard for me to get up. There's days it's hard for me to walk because of the pain, because of my conditions. But whenever it comes down to her, I don't care. I don't care how I feel, what day I feel bad. She didn't ask to be here. Even at 20, she didn't ask to be here. I chose for her to be here. That was my choice. So because it's my choice, it is also my choice to make sure she's taken care of, regardless of how I feel. Um, but the blessing in that is that she likes to take care of her mommy. And I love to let her feel that she's doing that, that she's taking care of me and teaching her how to do that. That brings her joy. She feels like she's doing something amazing. And if that's what helps her, I let her, I let her help with my medicine. I know what my medicine is. I make sure I check them, after she's done, but she does a good job. She knows the color, they're color coded. So pictures are taken, so she sees what is what. It's just broken down to make it easier for her. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. Like, I just feel like even though she's different, It doesn't mean she can't do things or she can't do the same thing as everyone else. It just means she does it differently. It just means that maybe I got to bring something for her to be able to do this, or maybe I got to add something into it for her to be able to do it, or maybe I got to do it at a different time when there's not as many people, or maybe it's not as much packed, so that it could be focused on her and she can really actually enjoy what's going on. So it doesn't mean you can't enjoy things. It just means you enjoy them differently. you know One thing that I will say that I hate that needs to be better, is the school system, the government, how they operate for children like this. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, they're like this. We're just going to throw them in here and skate them by. No, actually work with them, teach them, show them. I do not have good things to say about the school system, brick and mortar, or even online, any school system, because it is not set up for children with disabilities. It is not. If your child has any form of disability, they require you, the parent, to figure out how to make it work. They require you, the parent. If your kid is in a wheelchair and need to be pushed, you got to go and push your kid every day while they're at school. If your kid requires a note taker, now you're the person that got to go take notes. And what we're dealing with in a college, which it shouldn't even be like that. If you are informed that my kid is a portion of deaf and why she's deaf, that's your job to do what you're supposed to do. That's what the law say. But unfortunately, these schools don't necessarily follow the law. So unless you're a person who is like me, I don't care about making no stink. Let's go to the news. Let's go down to the government. Let's go do this, this, and this. I don't feel as though I should have to do this, but because my child is disabled and she's being treated differently because she is, I got to do what I have to do. But I do think us as a whole, we need to get it together and fight more, not just for regular, normal. No. Where's the fight for the kids who are not? To have the same thing as the basic, regular, or normal child has. Why should we even have to fight for that? Let's start with that. Like, I don't even understand why that is something that's even a fight. That should be an automatic. But unfortunately, in our world, in this day and age, it is not. If you're dealing with a child with autism or anything like that, you will be fighting the school system all the way through. They go all the way through college. Like, it's no different in college. Like, it's no different. The system still sucks. But there are many laws in place to protect these kids, but they do not honor the laws. That's what I've learned. They do not honor them. I've been fighting for many, many years for my daughter to be able to have just the normal basic rights as everyone else. Nothing special, just the normal basic rights as everybody else. And I have been told by teachers, well, she came from a key sport. You sure? Because I moved my kids from a not so great area to a better area due to their father being murdered. I just wanted something different for them. So I moved my kids somewhere where I thought it was a decent area. Unfortunately, it was a very prejudiced area, and the school really did not help them. They did not put any effort towards making sure my kids had the things that they needed while they were in school and while they were grieving the loss of their father. They did not do that. But the school board, we've had multiple conversations. They already know how I feel, as far as that's concerned. As you can see, I am not a mom who is not involved. I am involved in my kids' life. Even as adults, I'm a grandma and I'm involved in my grandbaby's life. Like, I believe being there to support them is super important, letting them make the decisions themselves, but supporting them in the decisions, answering, waiting to answer when they ask you, well, mom, dad, what would you do in this situation? And not just offering up or forcing my opinion, but waiting for them to want what my opinion is and letting them know you don't have to choose my opinion. That's just my opinion. You choose what works for you, because ultimately you've got to live this thing and walk this thing out. So I just I feel like us as a whole, we need to do better. We need to do better. We need to do better with the parents who are taking care of children with autism. We are already like high strung a little bit and a little bit hyper. So when you interact with us and we're out on the go and we have our kid out on the go, number one, outings are hard for parents with disabled children. Outings are a big thing for us. First of all, it takes days for us to prepare for an outing. Days. We can't just go on an outing. It doesn't work like that, because there's so many things, moving parts, that goes into going on an outing with a child with a disability, and you have to have everything they need, because the last thing you want to do is be gone for the day somewhere, and one of a major piece of something you need is all the way at home, and now you've either got to figure out, and these are pieces that you can't just go in the store and buy. Let me start with that. Me, I'm like a DIYer, so I will like figure out how to make something work if I forget something, but I honestly don't like to forget anything when I'm going out. When I pack for the day with her, my trunk is always filled. My car always looks crazy because Whenever we go for the day, I've probably got 3 or 4 bags with just different things that she needs in case something happens, an extra pair of clothes in case her tube pops out and all this stomach acid in her stomach comes out all over her clothes. That has happened so many times, it's not funny. And she cries. It's embarrassing. I've had it happen to me. It is definitely embarrassing. It's very, very embarrassing. It's not fun. So, we've got to have changes of clothes. We've got to have extra medication, her medication set out, and have it with us in case something happens. She is also a feeding tube kid, so we have to have all her feeding tube supplies every time that we go out, which means the bags, the machines, the food, the charger in case the bag dies, and then there's different pieces that she has to have in order for it to connect. So she's got a connector piece that connects to it, and then another piece that connects to the connector to even take the feeding. And these pieces are like little pieces, but if you don't have all these pieces, she cannot take a feeding at all. And then trying to figure out, okay, now it's summertime, it's hot. I got to figure out how to make sure that her feeding bag, her food doesn't spoil while she's out walking around. We're at the park or wherever. It's 90 something degrees outside. I've got to figure out now how I can get this thing in ice or figure out how I can keep it cold without overwatering it, because she needs all of the nutrition that's in it. She doesn't need it to be watered down at all. How to figure out how to keep it cold so that she can take the feeding, and her feedings usually last her like 3 hours or longer, depending upon what rate she's running it at and for how long she's running it. It'll just depend on that. Like if she's doing like a 1200 bag, that's usually like a all day. She's hooked up all day. And if she's hooked up all day, that's where I have to figure out going into different places, because the world doesn't stop. What you have to do doesn't stop. Like, you're still going to the store, picking up medicine, doing this, doing that. That doesn't stop because you're sick and you have these things going on. That stuff doesn't stop or go away. This is just added to that. It's added to it. You just have to incorporate it now in your life, where, like, for me, I'm used to all of this now. Like when I first started dealing with this when she was 16. She spent 3 months in the hospital. She went in when she was 15. She came home when she was 16. Um, we were there every day, all night. I had to learn so much stuff. I had to learn how to do injections because she developed blood clots from having ports and picks. So I had to learn how to do injections every 12 hours. I had to learn how to replace her tube, take it in and out myself, which they go to the hospital for that, but replacing it myself. I had to learn how to unclog it, and what to do if it clogged and I couldn't get it. I had to learn how to connect all the pieces. I had to learn how to maneuver her machine, what rate, at what time, for how long, when does the rate change, when does it stay the same. I had to learn how to do all of that. I had to learn how to effectively take care of her and without help, basically, like without nursing services coming, because we were at the hospital for 3 months, so I had all kinds of help. And I felt safe because I had help while we were there. I was like, okay, well, I'm not alone. I got help. If I mess something up, I got help. But when it was time to come home, that was a different story. It was a lot. It was panicking. It was sheer panic. So for any of those parents, when you first come home with your kid that has a feeding tube or, TPN, because my kid came home on TPN first before we switched to the feeding tube, and she developed massive blood clots in both of her arms. So we had to take her from TPN to do a feeding tube. That's what was safe for her and still safe for her at this point. So it was a lot. I had to learn how to do flushes. I had to learn how to hook up her TPN. I had to learn how to make sure her veins was open and give her heparin. Like, it was a lot that I had to learn in a very short amount of time. And when I came home, I felt like I was just thrown into it, if that makes sense. Like, they did a lot of the training at the hospital, but when you go home, it's all you. You got to figure it out. That can be like a mental thing. It can be a lot, because, like I said, I had no former training of medical. I went to medical assistant school, and I actually went all the way through. I could not finish because of my externship was during the time that I had to work, and that wasn't possible unless I could do it at night. I was taking care of my children, and I needed to work to take care of them. That's just what it was. So unfortunately, the school closed down, and I never got to finish it, but that's okay. Just having that little bit of experience, I will say it helped a little bit whenever it came down to do like injections. That's what it helped me for. It helped me feel more comfortable about injecting her and where I was injecting her. Now, I've done injections before, like I have done them on myself, because I have something called Addison's disease, where I basically go into crisis. And in crisis, I have to inject myself in order to stop the crisis. I usually have to inject myself and call 911. So I've learned how how to do that, as well as her sisters learned how to do that as well. They taught her how to give her own injections because she wanted to know how to do it. So she learned how to be able to do the injections herself to make sure she's okay. Um, but it's crazy. It's scary, for any parent that's thrown into this. Know that you got this. Know that it's okay. Know that all of us have been scared. All of us have made mistakes. Say you try to put the medicine in and it squirts out, and then you don't know how much medicine the baby got, and you're in panic. It happens. I've been there. It has happened to me. Um, Making sure you've got all the different color coded and finding a system to come up with to make sure that they have their medication, especially if your kid is on medicines like mine. My kid is on like 15 medications, literally 15. I'm not even kidding. 15. And remembering what's what for when, where, and how's this. And majority of her medicine goes through her feeding tube instead of through her mouth because she vomits really, really bad. With gastroparesis, it comes with bad vomiting, and she also has something called cyclic vomiting, where it just gets ugly sometimes, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes, and it's an automatic hospital stay when she goes into that spell. There's nothing we can do. It's just an automatic call 911, get her to the hospital. We're here for 3 to 7 days. Like, that's what it is, and that's what it's been like since she was born, actually. Um, since birth. Since birth, with this cyclic vomiting. Since she was born, she used to projectile vomit across the room, and that's how we kind of figured out what she had. It took until she was 3 to get diagnosed with cyclic vomiting, and probably about 10 hospital stays. But yeah, yeah, at least we understand now. We've been going through genetic testing to try to figure out if any of this stuff she's dealing with is genetics, or how she got it and where everything came from, different things like that. And just trying to figure out how to maneuver and figure it out. But we do what we do when we have to. We figure it out because we have to. You know, I just, for me, want to make this video for parents to understand it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to want to scream. It's okay to have every emotion that you have. It's all right to have those emotions. And anybody that tells you it's not, they're crazy. And don't listen to them. Like, this is hard. And just because you feel like this is hard, just because they're your child, and you don't want to complain because they're your child. You don't want, basically, you don't want to complain. You don't want to do this or you don't want to do that. It's okay to say, I'm not okay. Like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to say that this road is a hard road. It's okay for all of those things. It's okay for you to be in your feelings and be in your emotions, be in this, have that, and anybody that tells you you can't ignore them, hey, don't be friends with them, get away from them, because we have to be able to feel and get how we feel out in order to be able to be the best that we can for them. Because this is not an easy road. I commend any and every parent that is taking care of a child with disabilities. Parenting is hard, period. Like, it's hard. I have children that are not like her, and I have children and I have her. So parenting is hard. I've had it from both spectrums, and I'll say it's hard on both. It's not easier for either part. Like, it's not easier if you have a normal child. It's not easier. No, it's not easier at all. Is it more difficult to have a child with disabilities? I do certainly feel that it is definitely more difficult. My children that are not as sickly as my daughter is definitely not as difficult as far as the medical. I'll say that. It's not as difficult as far as the medical. They have other things where it's like, oh my gosh, why did I choose this again? Like, they have other stuff where it's like that. It's just differences, basically, that I've learned. It's differences. It's different ways of difficulty. There's no rule book or no book that tells you how to be a good parent or even tells you how to be a parent. There's no rule book to this. And everybody's parenting style is different. Everybody raises their children differently. And nobody has a right to tell someone how to raise their child or what to do. No one has that right. I know we all think of, well, if I post it online, I got a right to say so. Actually, you don't. Actually, you don't. It's called get some self-control. Have self-control. Use it. You're an adult. You go to work. You have self-control at work. You come in the world. You talk to people. You have self-control. Then have self-control online. I understand you may think you know better because you're doing this. You don't know better. You didn't know what you were doing when you had your kid. And the people who don't have kids, you shouldn't even be saying nothing, period. Shut up. No shade. Shut up. If you have not walked down this road or you have not experienced this, why are you speaking on something you've never experienced? That is just a little pet peeve of mine. As you can see, it's a little hot button for me. I just don't like when people speak on something they have no idea, never experienced, never dealt with, don't know what it's like to live out a doctor's office, to get bad report after bad report after bad report, but see your kid or the person that you're taking care of fight through that and not allow that to be what their life is. You don't have a right to come on someone's page. I don't care if they posted a video. You don't have a right to come on someone's page and post something negative. How about you with your negative Nancy self go over there and have seats and sit down and shut your mouth? Have some self control. I don't know why your mother taught you it was okay, or your grandfather, whoever raised you, taught you it's okay to be mean or be an internet thug or internet bully. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're watching this video, I don't suggest it. I don't do well with internet thugs or internet bullies. I press charges. That's what I do. I press charges. There are laws in place. You don't get to say whatever you want and have no accountability. That doesn't work like that. Not at all. Not if what you're saying is defaming or derogatory and it can cause some form of harm. You will be held liable. If you don't want that, I don't suggest it. Peace and blessings to you, my friend. Sorry, guys, needed to put a little disclaimer out there because everybody feels as though they have a right to judge parents on what they do with their kids, and I just don't feel like we do. I feel like the only right that we have is to make sure a child is safe and protected, to make sure that they have everything they need, and if we could do something about what they want, that would be great. But making sure they're safe and protected, making sure they're loved, making sure that no one is harming them or, treating them in a derogatory manner. That's when we should have opinions, protecting them. Not when you see someone trying their best to take care of them and maybe not necessarily getting it right. There's a way to correct someone if you feel they need to be corrected. There's a way to do it. There's a way to sit down and have a conversation where they can understand what's going on. Like, hey, look, I just wanted to talk to you real quick. I didn't necessarily agree with what you did. I don't know what your circumstances are, but I don't necessarily agree with how you handled that. Maybe here's how I would have handled it. And then let them decide, if they want to take that corrective information in and apply it and do something about it. Let that be their decision, but not a decision that we make for them. That's unfair. That's why our world is the way it is, I believe, because everybody wants to make a decision for everybody and nobody has a right to make a decision for anybody but themselves. You are responsible for you. Take care of you. All these adults out here, if they're deciding to do something else and they want to post it, why is that your problem or any of your business? How is it affecting you? I bet you don't have an answer for that because it's not. You decided to open your phone, open your little apps and look at your apps and see something. Okay. And you posted it for the World Wide Web to see it. Okay, I can post whatever I want. That doesn't give you a right to open your mouth and say something negative. You would not like it if I did that to you, or if other people did that to you, you would not be okay with it. So let's just be kind, be amazing, be helpful, use encouraging words. Let's encourage one another instead of the other stuff, basically. But anyways, I'm definitely I'm working on doing a series where you guys can see a little bit more of like my everyday with her. I haven't really pushed as much for it because I'm not just going to slap a camera in her face. I want her to be comfortable with sharing her story. And as long as she's comfortable with sharing her story, then we'll do it. But if she's not, then I'll share my story from my perspective and what it's like for me as a parent. And I'm telling you, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. I've had to learn some different things. Like I've had to learn how to communicate with her where she actually understands me. Like I've had to learn how to make sure that she heard what I said versus not. Like my daughter didn't my daughter didn't grow up with deafness. She wasn't deaf when she grew up. But after a recent head injury, we now deal with deafness where I'm talking to her and she just does not hear me. And I will say, like, for a lot of months, it drove me crazy. I thought she was just ignoring me because sometimes she can do that. She's still 20, you know. Mom still nag, you know. So I thought, you know, she just wasn't hearing me. And she's like, no, mom, I'm not ignoring you. I actually cannot hear you. And I thought it was crazy because I would be sitting right next to her and I would see her trying to read my lips, but she couldn't hear me. So I was like, oh, maybe we need a little more help. And I took her to ask some more questions. Took her to a couple of different specialists only to find out that she's actually deaf. But she's not deaf where's her ears, it's the connectivity between her brain and her ears. She can't hear. So I've been trying to adjust. Like, it's a new diagnosis for us. So I've been trying to figure it out and adjust because she wants to drive now. She's ready to drive, and I actually been teaching her. But I'm a little worried about that. Like, if you're a parent like me, you'll understand my worry. I'm worried about her driving, but I'm not going to stop her. I'm going to teach her how to be safe. I'm going to teach her how to drive the best way I can. I'm going to get her in some driver's ed. Um, and I'm going to figure out what it takes for children who are maybe deaf and still want to drive but can't hear. So they kind of have to figure it out. I'm going to figure out how that works, you know, immerse myself into all of it and try to help her as best as I can. Because, like I said, my goal for her is for her to feel like she is self sufficient. She can do things on her own, and for her to understand that just because she is different doesn't mean that she cannot enjoy life, or doesn't mean that she cannot have life, or doesn't mean that she can't do things on her own, because she can. She absolutely can. Um, just has to be done differently and safely, you know. Um, I'm learning how to not be a hover over her. Because sometimes I can be a little hovering, meaning if she's outside by herself walking the dogs, I'm usually somewhere hiding, watching, making sure she's okay, making sure she's safe, making sure, you know, no one's saying anything to her where she doesn't understand or not taking advantage. You know, I'm learning how to not do that because if you're a parent like me, you understand. Like, it goes without saying, you understand. We just want our kids safe. And because they don't think like us, we want to make sure that they're okay, you know, when they're out here, that they're okay, and they're talking to people, they're okay. You know, that is one of the things that I am learning how to let go and know that she's okay, that she can go and do things and I don't need to be there. I feel fine when she's with her sisters. You know, I trust them more than anybody, honestly. More than any person that walks the face of this earth. I know that her siblings will take care of her. She is one of 7 siblings. They will make sure that she is straight. That's one thing that I do know. And I know that if something happens to me, that any one of her siblings will take her in and pick up where I left off and make sure that she's okay. Um, I think my nervousness is, you know, she's going into, I believe, her sophomore year of college. Um, and this year, my goal is to get her more acclimated with the school. Last year, she tried, but she really didn't get involved in things and make friends. But this year, I'm really going to be pushing for her to get into activities, get more involved. Like, she loves theater. So all last year, that's what her major is going to end up being, like theater and something else. She's going to get her degree and her certificate at the same time, something of that nature. But I want her to get involved, get out there. I just want her to have as much normalcy as possible, as I possibly can. And I'm learning how to do that without hovering, without hovering, because I feel like I need to be there when she's, you know, there. I feel like I need to be not too far. So I'm learning how to find grace in that and figure it out. And like I said, if you're a parent like me, you understand the fear, because our world is just, it's not nice. But it's our fault that it's not nice because we didn't teach people to have consideration, compassion, loyalty, honor, all the wonderful things. We don't teach that enough. And sometimes we become so complacent and so angry of our past, and we don't recognize that their future is not our past. And what they're dealing with has nothing to do with our past. We just need to be the supportive people there to guide them through this journey of their life. We've been through what we had to go through at that age. Now it's our turn to be support to them and aid to them and guide and help them. So I believe that that's something that we just have to do more of and just kind of figure it out. But yeah, if there's other parents on here and you're watching this and you're like me, definitely hit me up. I'm definitely trying to get a support group together for people like us so that, we can talk. We can be real and candid without judgment, you know, on how we feel about these things, because these things are hard. And unfortunately, people like to judge it, and there's no reason to do that. You know what I mean? There's no reason to do that. How about aid and support and making things a little bit better? That would be more helpful instead of being derogatory. Um, but that's honestly what I'm looking to do. I definitely hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I definitely will have some more. I'm hoping to have one where I have her involved in it, where she can actually talk for herself and you guys can meet her and get to know her. My baby has such a beautiful spirit, a beautiful personality. She's so respectable, respectful. She honors people even though they're mean to her. Like, she's just an amazing kid. I was truly blessed. I may have to deal with all this crazy with her medical, but I'm grateful to God that she is my daughter. I really, really am. I'm truly blessed. She is an amazing, beautiful soul. And she is amazing at cooking, y'all. I'm so proud of her. She actually created her own baking powder. Um, and it actually works. We're working on seeing about getting it trademarked and everything else so that she can get it on the shelves. But she's been working on it for 2 years, and that's why I said, like, you have to support them and let them know that they have talents just like anybody else. They can do things just like anybody else. Yes, they might have to do it differently, but they are ultimately super amazing. Okay. But she's been working on this baking powder for 2 years. And she's been actually working on it for me. I have an allergy to corn and honey, and I miss eating cake a lot. And it's very hard for me to find cakes or sweets that does not have corn or honey in it. So she decided to create something that I could have. So she actually developed her own baking powder brand. So we are working on getting that trademarked so we can see what we could do to get it on the shelves, because it is amazing and it works. She cooks bread and donuts and cupcakes. Anything that you use baking powder in, she puts it in there for us to eat. And we've been utilizing her baking powder instead of store-bought baking powder for at least 6 months. So it's pretty decent. I actually started to gain some weight since eating her stuff with baking powder, which has been difficult for me with gastroparesis. I also have gastroparesis. She inherits that from her mother, unfortunately. But these kids are amazing. They do amazing things. Like, I'm proud of her, and I cannot wait to celebrate her. And I definitely cannot wait to see her baking powder on the shelves out here in Walmart and Target and in big bakeries. I cannot wait to see, something she created all by her little self. She figured it out and came up with it. I can't wait to see it out here in the world, and I can't wait for the world to support it and support her. Um, I'm really, really excited about that, and learning and connecting with who can teach me the next steps on, getting this thing taken care of. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep encouraging her to be her. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this episode. Pretty much all I wanted to talk about for today. If there are other parents out there that are like me and you guys want me to do maybe like a question and answer video from my point of view, my experience, definitely let me know. I'd be more than happy um, to do that. I thank you guys for watching our video, and I definitely hope you gain something or learn something from it. If nothing else, I hope you get encouragement to know that you can do this. Like, you can do this. You got this. Don't give up. Don't quit. It's hard. Don't throw in the towel. Create a community, a village, a support system. And your community does not necessarily have to be your parents or your immediate relatives or immediate family members. There are so many people in this big, beautiful world that are just like you, that are other parents that are going through it. Get into support groups. Get into support groups on Facebook. I know I'm in like 30, honestly. And I've even developed my own support group. Get into support groups on all these different social media pages. There are other parents. Get into groups where you can find other parents that you can see videos like yours so you know you're not alone. One of the biggest things in going through this with one child that has ADHD and one child that is nonverbal and has autism, it's two different spectrums, number one. Um, but having a support system, knowing I'm not alone, knowing that I can do this with help, knowing that when I'm at my most frustrated points, I can call and have a conversation, with somebody who's just like me. My aunt, she's just like me. Her son is only 5, but she's similar, so she understands. Usually when I need to like vent, I call her, and she understands where I'm coming from. So we have conversations, we get it out, we laugh, we love our kids, and we move on. And vice versa for her as well. I'm there for her when she goes through hers as well. So have a community, have a support system. Don't be afraid. If you don't have a community, you want a community, hey, I'll be your community. I might be in a whole nother place, in a whole nother state, but hey, I'll talk you through. You can call me out anytime. You go to the hospital, you need somebody to talk to, call me. I'm here. The only time I'm not available is if I'm super sick myself, and sometimes that does happen. Um, but I'm here. I'll be here. You can scream, you can yell, whatever you need. We need that sometimes. It's okay. Don't feel bad because you need that. You do what's best for you. For me, what helps is praying, reading my word, getting close to God. That's what helps me get through this. That's my personal preference. Going to therapy. Right now, I'm doing therapy 2 days a week. I'm doing something called theotherapy. And if you have not done it, connect with someone, because it is the most amazing thing, the most amazing experience I've ever had. It's been helping me deal with a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of other things. And I can say after therapy and waking up, I feel so much better, so much freer, lighter, not so much heaviness on me. I just feel much better. So I'll say, try it. I mean, therapy may not be for everyone. If therapy's not for you, journal. Like, I have hundreds of journal books for different things. Journal, write it down, get it out. Just don't hold it in. That's the only thing that I ask. Don't hold it in. Don't keep it in. It's not good for you. It'll internally make you sick. Ask me how I know. Because that's what happened to me. So definitely don't do that. But know that you have a community. Know that no matter what it looks like, you can get through this. You can make it through this. Know that it doesn't matter how bad the world looks, there is still good, a lot of good, and hope. Keep hope no matter when it looks crazy. Hold on to hope. You don't hold on to nothing else. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. And I encourage you to, who cares what this world looks like or how they act? Don't be afraid to take your child out to enjoy all of these things that everyone else is able to enjoy. Take your baby, take your young adult, take them on trips, take them on vacations, take them to things that might be different for them, give them new experiences. Is it a lot more work for you? Yes, but the memories are worth it. I promise you, it'll be worth it in the end. That's the one thing my daughter has stated, like after she came out and after she almost died, one of the best memories that she has is that after she got out of the hospital, after being in the hospital for 3 months, I took my daughter to Florida right after. Like, she came home. I took her March. She came home the end of December, beginning of January. We went in October 15th. We got out December 26th or December 27th, somewhere around there is when we got out. And I took her to Florida, I want to say March 10th. And it was our first vacation away. We didn't fly. I drove 13 hours to Florida. I drove her because she wasn't cleared to fly because, like I said, she had blood clots. So she wasn't cleared to fly because of the blood clots. But we were allowed to drive. I just had to take breaks, and we had to walk to get her circulation going. So we made it work. We drove 13 and a half hours. We stopped every 3 hours. We got out the car. We walked for about 20 minutes and explored. I got her legs pumping and going, and I took her to Florida. I took her to the beach. I'll actually post a video and some pictures on our first trip. I'll post them on there. I'll do like a short or something and post so you guys can see. I took her to the beach so that she could feel the sand in between her toes, because prior to that, they didn't even think she was going to survive. My daughter literally threw up over 100 blood clots. I lied not, over 100. They looked like little grapes. It was the craziest thing I had ever seen. They had ever seen. It was crazy. Craziest thing the doctors ever experienced. Like, it was a lot for all of us. Lele, she gave us all scared. She threw us all through, and we were all just like, what is this? Like, what? I call my baby a unicorn because there's not a lot of kids that are like her. Like, honestly, we really haven't found one that's like her, with all of the different things that she deals with. Like, there's usually a kid, they have one thing or two things, where my kid has like 8. It's like different, but we figure it out. So I took her on vacation, and she still talks about that to this day. Like that was, she's 20 now. That was like 4 years ago. And she still says that that is one of the best things that I could have done for her, because after being in the hospital, in the bed every day where she wasn't allowed to get up, she wasn't allowed to go anywhere, being able to go to the beach and stick her feet in the sand, she loved it. And I also took her to the amusement park. I took her to Disney and I took her to Universal at the same time while we were down there. She didn't need to utilize her wheelchair, so she spent most of her time in her wheelchair, but she still got to have the most amazing experience. I took my niece with us, so it was my other two daughters and my niece, and they took turns pushing her in her wheelchair. Like they made it a thing, so she didn't feel left out. Like they made it a thing. They was racing, using it as a race car and going fast with her in it. She still was allowed to ride. They didn't say she couldn't ride, so she still rode the stuff that she was allowed to, because of course she had her tube in and a lot of bandaging, and that couldn't touch that, so she had to figure out how to still ride and do that. But we still enjoyed life. Was it hard? Yeah, it was definitely difficult. I was blessed. At the time I had a smaller truck, but my dad was awesome. He was such a blessing to me. He switched me and gave me his 3-seater to drive down to Florida, so that we all fit, plus our luggage and all of our medical supplies, because it was the very first trip I ever took. It's also the first trip I learned about leaving things, important things. Um, I was fortunately blessed enough to meet people that were down there that were like me, to exchange some of the stuff that I needed, as well as my mom mailed me some stuff. But it's how I learned how to not leave things. Taking that first trip is how I learned how important it is, and all the stuff that you need to just go on a day trip. That trip is what taught me everything. So it's worth it. It was worth it to see her smile, to see her happy, to see her being a teenager at that time, because she was only 16, being able to see her being a teenager and laugh and enjoying. And it was the perfect time to go to Florida in March when we went, because it wasn't packed at that time, because we were just coming off of COVID. Actually, it was during COVID, so there was hardly anybody there. Stuff had just started opening up, so there was barely no one there, so it worked for her sensory issues, where there's too many people, it's too loud, and crowds. She had her headphones though. My daughter utilizes headphones. Like when she's over sensorized, her headphones is what brings her back and calms her down. So she had her headphones in case she needed it on the days that the park was packed. I don't care how much money I paid. If my kid needs to get away, we're leaving. I don't care. We're leaving. Her mentals is my most important thing. I'm not gonna, if I'm trying to do a fun gesture, it's a fun gesture. A fun gesture should not make you feel uncomfortable or not at ease. If it does, then we need to do something else, you know? So I learned, there were days that I had sent my oldest kids to the park. I dropped them off and let them do the park, where I stayed back at the room with her and found something that was easier or better to do that made her feel more comfortable. Most people were at the park, so that's the time that she could swim where everybody wasn't there and she can enjoy. Did she want to be with everybody? Yes, but it was too much for her. So we figured it out. So be encouraged, parents. Don't be scared. Take your kids out. Know that you're doing this. Know that you got this. Know that you're the one putting in the work, and you're doing a darn good job. Don't quit. Don't give up. Utilize your village. If you don't have one, create one. Can make connections with other people in your area. Go on all these different channels: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go on these channels, research words, hashtags on what you're dealing with, and see if you can find people in your area. Develop groups, have play dates. Your kids might be older, so maybe you have two older autistic kids. They can meet, go to the movies, have some dinner. You guys don't have to be too far, but yet you both have support, is what I'm saying. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid. Step out there. You're stronger than you know. If you're strong enough to handle this, baby, you're strong enough to handle anything. I promise you. Anything. But yeah, I'm going to let you guys go. Sorry this ended up being so long. I just felt it really deep on my heart this morning, just watching my baby lay. She still lays in my bed sometimes because I don't care. Just watching her lay and just rubbing her head and helping her understand, that she's okay and that everything's okay. I just felt the need to just have a conversation. And I want to say, be nice. For the people watching this, be nice. If it don't apply, let it fly. If it's not something you deal with or something you know about, let it fly. But be nice. Our world needs people to be nice. Our children, our disabled children, need people to be nice. Um, And if I could ask one thing, let's teach our children that if they see a kid in a wheelchair or a motorized scooter, let's not teach our kids bad things about that. Let's teach our kids happy things about that. No, it's not a happy situation for the kid that's in it. So the least we can do is make it better by teaching our children at home so that they don't have to feel uncomfortable. Because we teach our children how to be comfortable with the situation because we have to. So if you could teach your child how to be nice, that would be great. But love you guys. If you have not already, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that post notification button, whatever they call it, so that you can be notified when I do upload videos. But I'm definitely hoping you guys are going to see more vlogging from me and her, just talking about, the dynamics of our relationship, what we do, seeing how we enjoy outings, how even though it's different, we still have figure out how to enjoy, horseback riding and different things like that. We're going to take you guys on stuff like that with us so you guys can see we still go out and do stuff like others. We just do it differently. That's all. But again, thank you guys. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. All right.